Pudu Prison, also known as Pudu Gaol, was a prison in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Built in stages by the British colonial government between 1891 and 1895, it was located on Jalan Shah, now Jalan Hang Tua. Construction began with a 394-meter-long prison wall at a cost of $16,000 Straits Times, and was adorned with one of the world's longest murals at one point in its history. The prison complex was largely demolished in December 2012 to make way for urban development, at the request of heritage conservationists and the public. The main gate and part of the outer wall were preserved and are now part of a park surrounding the development and the Bukit Bintang City Centre shopping mall, which occupies the former prison site. Pudu Prison's main gate, 2007. The gate is preserved and is now part of a park in the Bukit Bintang City Centre area. Pudu Prison 1891, also known as Pudu Gaol, Pudu Gaol by its 19th-century spelling, was built on the site of a former Chinese cemetery. The site was chosen as Pudu. At that time, it was a jungle area with the occasional tiger roaming around. It was close to the then central business district of Kuala Lumpur, about a mile from the Sultan Abdul Samad building, but isolated enough to pose a threat. Charles Edwin Spooner, then Selanger's chief of public works, was the architect and project manager. The total cost of the project was $138,000. Construction began in 1891 using convict labor. The cemetery was excavated and the bodies of 500 convicts were removed. Convicts were moved to the unfinished prison at regular intervals throughout the construction period from 1892 to 1895. Although the main prison building was only half finished, all inmates from other smaller prisons around Kuala Lumpur, about 500 in total, were transferred to Pudu Prison in May 1895. The first governor of Pudu Prison was Colonel J.A.B. Ellen. 1895, epidemics during construction and operation from 1893 to 1895, cholera and dysentery plagued the prison and killed many inmates. The epidemic was most severe in August 1895, which coincided with an unusually dry period, resulting in 126 cases and 68 deaths in that month alone. The epidemic was caused by the prison's water supply system, which relied on the existing groundwater that had been drawn from the ground where the burials had previously been buried. The water source of the well was also contaminated by sewage from vegetable gardens in nearby villages. The cholera outbreak was brought under control by late August 1895, with fresh water being brought from a reservoir in Ampang. An outbreak of beriberi plagued the prison during its first decade of operation. Like the malaria outbreak in 1908, the early years of Pudu Prison were one of the European prison guards at Pudu Prison in 1911. In its early history, Pudu Prison was the only prison in Selangor and held men and women for short sentences. The prison was also self-sufficient, with vegetable gardens that produced enough food for the inmates each year. The prison later housed criminals, including drug offenders, and was also a place of corporal punishment by caning. The canings were carried out in a special, marked caning area, not in the main building but in the prison grounds. World War II and later. During the Japanese occupation of World War II, the prison was used as a temporary prisoner of war camp after Kuala Lumpur was occupied in January until October 1942, when most POWs were moved to Changi Prison. Singapore. Over 1,000 POWs were held there in mid-1942. In 1986, the Pudu Prison siege occurred. In this incident, a group of prisoners led by Jimmy Chua Chub Singh captured and held 2 prison guards hostage for 6 days. The siege was broken when the Malaysian police stormed the prison. They successfully rescued the hostages and arrested the prisoners without death. Chua was hanged for another charge. He had been held in Pudu Prison, while the others were imprisoned for wrongful confinement and kidnapping. As Kuala Lumpur entered the 1990s, concerns arose about the feasibility of locating the prison on prime real estate. Security was a major concern as the prison was located near rapidly growing commercial developments such as Imbi and Bukit Bintang. In addition, the prison's layout and facilities were outdated. In 1996, after 101 years as a prison, Pudu Prison was officially closed and the inmates were moved to Sungai Buloh Prison and Kajang Prison, which remained in use until 2009 as a day detention facility. Inmates attending court hearings. The prison was used as a museum in 1997. In addition, 8 Hindutva human rights movement supporters were arrested and detained in Pudu Prison after the Hindraf rally in 2007. They were later released due to lack of evidence. Demolition. In June 2009, the government finally decided to demolish the building in stages. When asked by Bukit Bintang MP Fong Kue Luan, DAP, why the building was not preserved as part of Malaysia's heritage, Deputy Finance Minister Awang Adek Hussein, UMNOBN, replied, "In our opinion, it is not something to be proud of. The hanging room, along with the prison hospital, is a skeleton." The first buildings were demolished in October of that year. In June 2010, the eastern wall of the Pudu prison complex was demolished to make way for a road widening project. By December 2012, all of the buildings within the Pudu prison complex had been demolished. The government agreed to retain some of the landmark outer walls and main gate, following complaints from conservationists and the public. These remaining features were incorporated into the water park, part of the Mitsui Lalaport shopping mall, which now stands on the site of the prison. The area was redeveloped by BBCC Development SDN-BHD, a joint venture between EcoWorld, UDA and the EPF board, into Bukit Bintang City Centre. In 2022, Bukit Bintang City Centre opened.